На английском языке. Go.
Go. Okay. Well, as you all know, I'll be doing my lecture in English, so I hope you can all understand. If I talk too fast, just slow me down, just say something, and I'll try to do my best and speak as clear as I can. I'm very grateful to be here, nice city of Kharkiv. A couple of years ago I would never imagine to be here, but I like it very much. I met a lot of people, made a lot of friends, and I hope I can make some more today. So I hope you enjoy your day, my presentation, and the ones from my colleagues, and I hope you'll all be joining in the workshop this afternoon. Let me briefly introduce myself and Toweya. Both are probably names you've never heard of before. So my name is Erik Hoekstra. I'm from Holland, the Netherlands. And last year I decided to found my second company. My first one was called Buckaroo, was in Holland, a big company in the field of online payments. And I sold that in 2012 and needed some new challenges to take on. And I decided to build a search engine. Yes, better than Google. And everybody said, you're crazy. Why? Because we have Google, you have Yandex, and you have Bing, and you have Yahoo. And I tell everybody, but how much time do you spend when you're searching for anything? And, oh yeah, it takes forever, everybody's saying. And we never get the results we want. And I say, how is that possible? Because I've heard that data on the internet is exploding in the last couple of years. So with ever more data, how can it be that we don't get the results we search for? And I went to the internet, did some research myself, and of course I have my experience with the big G and get frustrated almost every day. So it was a nice challenge. And I said this, you know, we must be able to do this better, we must be able to do this different. So, but yeah, how are you going to beat Google is the next question. Well, as a matter of fact, I don't have to beat Google. If we can only serve, you know, like a percentage of the population in this world, believe me, I think I beat Google. And we made this a success. So, our mission is to change the world, and what we have now we have built in 6 months, and it is online. You can go there, you can check, but be careful, we still have limited results. Our database is yet only a couple of million documents, and one of the challenges we'll be talking about today is how to master this huge amount of documents and information on the internet. Because Toweya, as opposite of many of our competitors and new ones too, we have decided to do our own indexing of the information of the internet. So we send out and build our crawlers, our spiders, and collect the information about websites, and believe me, that's a challenge. But later on today, Galina, one of the masterminds in our team, will tell you about our approach of how we deal with that. So I was invited here today to talk about the challenges we face, being one, a new search engine, crazy as I am like a Dutch guy, and second, in regard to big data, because this is the theme of your study, your course, your winter study, as I understood. And believe me, if you go and look, unfortunately still in our competitor sites, but you will find the internet is big data. I doubt if there's any database as distributed as it is, that is larger than the internet itself. But first of all, let's introduce some about Toweya. I've made some screenshots. I didn't know if we have like good internet here, but if you want, you can go out and try for yourself and see. It's more about seeing our approach, how to deal with things, and if you like, come back regularly because developments will be deployed in fast sequence from now on. And our soft launch is planned early second quarter of this year. So this is pretty damn fast. Entrance point looks familiar, I guess. It's all about entering keywords. We have to take the hook where people are, most people are used to. But we do lookups in our own index. You'll see a different approach as it comes to presenting the results, because this is where we put some more intelligence behind it. I will come back to that later. And where we group results in different result groups. Because some of you may be wanting to search for the latest information about a certain topic. Another one may want to find the most popular, and so we go on and on in different rankings and not a single page ranking like our big brothers do. And on the right side and on the top bar you will see some tools which will be more intuitive into incremental searching. So you can enhance your search, because one of the most frustrating things we meet in search engine land is that once you did a search and you get the results, you still wonder, where are those 999,920 other results that Google says I have, you know? Actually, a friend of mine did some testing on that, and he found out you never get further than 600 results. Yeah? It ends after 50 or 60 pages. Even if Google says we have 2 million results. Yeah, so, but the question is, if you have like 1 million fitting results, it's like big data in itself. And a typical user is not a big data analyst. So we have to present them with tools that will make refining the search easy. And these are currently being developed and are to be found in stuff like related keywords, where you can go deeper into results step by step, like looking for synonyms. You know, sometimes a synonym can bring better results than using the original word. And there are more, everybody who is a bit familiar with linguistics or semantics may know there are about 30 different relationships between words, like synonymy, polysemy, homonymy, all about how to connect meanings and concepts. We have an intermediate view. This is pure for, or mostly to have a quick glance of the results. It will adapt to a different media type, because one of the aspects of big data is it comes in variety. Big amount of different formats of information. And so we give a quick preview before you can redirect to the final page. Okay, this is all nice. You know, it looks pretty simple, but this is like the iceberg. You only see the tip of what's below the surface, above the surface. Below the surface will be the engine, and later our mastermind Yuri, many of them, or some of them may know him. He was connected to Karazin a long time. Will tell you a little bit more about the heart of this engine, which is below the surface. Don't know if any of you already have a lot of knowledge about big data, but the Gartner Group has defined a model back in the I think, early 2000s about the definition of big data. And it's being refined ever since. But there are 3 or 4, sometimes they use 8 dimensions to define a big data. And the aspects of it are, first of all, the volume. There's a model called 3V or 4V, sometimes C6 or even found something like 16 Vs. Volume is the first one. It has to be big volume, and the internet is big. We'll get to that. Found some nice research, but the funny thing is, actually nobody knows how big. There's only guesstimates and estimates of how many data is on the internet and how many documents that represents. But the first requirement for qualifying for big data is it has to be huge. The second dimension is velocity. Velocity means you can have a big database, but you can also have a big influx or a big change in the amount of data, so the amount of streaming before storing or maybe just streaming has to be huge itself. And this is something that will be, I think, one of the bigger topics in the next few years, because the number of connections will be exploding. It's like now we have around 4 billion connections, of which 2.5 to 3 billion are by people, but everybody here will probably have a computer and a smartphone. And the next thing will be that your whole house is connected to the internet, and your refrigerator, your washing machine, your telephone, your security systems, everything can be viewed and done on the internet. And the internet is used as a backbone for streaming data. The third one is variety. Like I said, you have on the internet, and especially challenging for search engines, you have a huge variety of data formats. Anybody familiar with a little programming in HTML or in websites will have found the content type attribute and this huge list of different content types there's out there. This makes it especially challenging for us to analyze the typical sources, you know, because there's video, there's audio, there's PDFs, there's HTML, there's text files, there's so much out there that needs to be analyzed and needs to be what we call harvested to put in our index, because the index somehow has to build up a uniform system that you can compare different types of information with to look it up. The fourth one was added to this model by IBM, and it's about veracity. That means the truthfulness and the correctness of information. A lot of information is in this world mutilated for different purposes. We'll come to that, but it's an important factor if you want to do good analysis of data, regardless of being a search engine, or if you want to do some big data analysis on a huge database for pharmacy or test results. You have to know that the test results are good, that this information, the quality of this information is good. Because you can do all the analysis you want. If you put garbage in, you get garbage out. And the funny thing is, if you go out and look for big data itself, you will find that big data being a topic, becoming big data already. There's everybody's talking about it. There's like more than 1 billion search results if you look for it in Google. So if you want to find some specific characteristics, you have to do and start with some data analysis to find it. So, the first challenge we face, I called the huge volume. What we want to know is, what are we dealing with? There's much information. I hope you can still read it. I tried to make as much visual pictures as I could to avoid having too complex and too much English text. So, but numbers everybody can read, I think, and it's a lot about these numbers. But important is that we're talking about so much data already that they say it cannot be analyzed anymore. That's a basic fact. We're talking not about petabytes anymore or zettabytes, but it's about exabytes. And these are like a gigabyte, so 1 billion gigabytes. I cannot imagine how much that is, but if you put it on hard disks, it will probably fill up the whole room here. And a lot of that is being produced by companies. So that's for us an interesting part, because they have their data usually confined in secluded, secured clouds. But a lot of them will need search engine technology to do analysis, to find results within their own domain itself. And these domains grow so big that it almost levels like a professional search engine technology to take care of that. And the second, of course, is that a lot of ever more people are producing ever more data, which is being available on the internet, being blogs, personal websites, being like the messaging, the emails, and it's for us a challenge because, as I said, it's too much to index anyway, and this will probably affect your results if you try to do proper matching and selection in a bad way. So you have to narrow it down and make a strategy of what data do you want your search engine to present or to represent. Yeah. Some of the websites on the internet help us with that because, whoa, cold walls. I hope it's all that's come down. But like sites like Facebook, Twitter, and other social media are even prohibiting a search engine to use the crawlers to visit their sites. And you would need a huge amount of computer power to keep up with the amount of messaging that is being produced there. Nice picture about the distribution of data across the world, and we still see that the most garbage is still produced in America. Europe, a good second place, and the upcoming countries in Asia altogether will probably soon match what we produce. So there's just to get an interesting picture. It's an estimation about the unique URLs, because this is one measure of counting how big is the internet. One is in bytes, of course, and the second one could be in how many links are out there. And it's almost unimaginable how many links there are. If you reckon that about 20 years ago we only started with a couple of million, this was about the time Google started. So yeah, they had an easy start compared to us. And it rapidly grew into 1 billion, but it's currently really exploding. And some estimates are, this was 2008, there were about 1 trillion, so that's 1,000 billion, a million links out there. This is not the same as web pages, and there's different estimations about how many pages this represents, because these count also the links to images, CSS files, JavaScript, etc. And there are some different estimates, but it doesn't really matter if it's 40 billion or 100 billion pages. It's so much anyway. But it depends on the ratios you handle, how many links are included in a single page. And some say it's around 40, some say it's around 25, and some estimates average around 10 links per page. So, but 100 billion pages, and actually for a search engine it means 100 or 1 trillion links that has to be analyzed, because like I said, internet is not about text only, it's about the variety. You also have the pictures, you have a lot of information that is hidden in videos, in audio files maybe, and there are different techniques you can use to collect information about the topics, about keywords. You know, you can even do, for example, on audio files, audio recognition. The second is, well, suppose we have indexed all these 1 trillion links, and we have stored that nicely in our index, and you can search on it, but the next day this information will be old. So you have to find a way to keep up with the velocity in which data is produced. Yeah, and not every site will have updates every minute, every day, or maybe even every month, but you have to deal with the influx of new data about aging mechanisms, because data from yesterday may have lost relevance very, very fast by new topics. You know, if something hits the news, something new breaks somewhere around the world, you will see this huge amount of users shift and look for specific topics and forget about everything that happened maybe even an hour ago. And being a search engine, you want to be the one where they can find the latest news on specific topics and everything that happens in the world. Or you have a strategy where you can share that with social media, because social media will always be faster in regard of this, because you get a personal message that that something of interest is in your domain. But it's with respect to big data, it is just amazing to look at the numbers and to realize how, or to think about how you can provide solutions to meet this challenge. That was an old picture. Yeah, this one even shows some more. But for example, there are more than 70 domains registered every minute, and there are more than 500 new websites created and launched every minute. Just that part alone can present a nice challenge for a search engine. Because how will you find them? And like I said before, it's the number of connections which will produce data that will be just staggering in the next few years. And all these devices connected to the internet will produce data that may be of relevance to some users who want to look for that. The second or the third challenge, like I said, is the different formats of information that's out there. It's for me not as huge a challenge as the variety, the velocity and the volume, but still it is challenging to find out how you can extract the right information from different types of different formats of documents. Because they're all stored in different files and have to have different techniques to extract useful information. And this is because nothing really standardized, or we have so many standards that you have to comply with and you have to adapt to. The fourth challenge is it's consisting of a few topics, but it's about the quality of information that you find on the internet. And we even in our team talk about the question, how can we de-Google the internet? Because right now we find that a lot of especially websites are kind of mutilated or are biased by search engine optimization. And this of course is due to the fact that Google is just a big money machine, and everybody knows that the results that are presented, first of all, very clear in the advertisement columns or on the top, yeah, as sponsored articles, they are paid for. The other rankings, they are determined on, first of all, the old algorithm that is based on links back to the sites. So when they started, Google thought or had the conception that the more links a website has to itself from other sites, the more popular this site will be. This was a nice concept in the late 90s or the early 2000s, when there were not so many websites. We only saw 26 million documents, so these relations could be counted easily. And when it was nice for the first companies to start in. But imagine you're a nice little company selling nice little products. Yeah, there's no way you can compete with all the companies that have like 10, 20 years of experience with all creating backlinks and this huge network. They have an advantage that you cannot compete with right now. So it is almost impossible to get between them. The second one is that people abuse this mechanism. It's called black hat search engine optimization. This has it's a gray area with extremes. So you have the real black hatters will create websites just to get high rankings in search engines. And Google being the most popular, they aim for that. So they can attract users, and they put in information in the website that is totally untrue, or but just put in there for search engine optimization. So talking about veracity, the real black hatters are the ones that ruin the integrity of the big data. And there are so many techniques for that they apply, but it's a challenge to find them, to locate them, and to filter them out if you want to present good search results. And of course, as opposed to the white hatters who want to do a proper job by giving integrity in their information, they should be rewarded to get higher rankings by that. So you have to do something to mitigate this issue. And it gets even worse, because we don't only have black hatters who just abuse data to get higher rankings, but you also have very malicious content on websites. Estimates are that there are over 1.3 million websites, and that's a huge number that host malware. So their only objective is to lure and attract users which click on some stuff on their website and to install malware on their computer to become part of these botnets that hackers use and do malicious things with that. So this is a pretty large amount, or a substantial amount of content that has to be filtered out from good search results. The seventh challenge is that, but it has a little bit more to do with ranking and selecting the search results, but everybody may have heard of the filter bubble. It's a huge discussion about how to extract information that the user wants, as opposed to presenting him information that you think this user wants. And Google is known to give different search results to different persons, so everybody here would get search results based on their user tracking history, the website you visited before, and even using the same keywords. And the question is filter bubbling, is that bad or is that good? My belief is that it is not bad as long as the user wants it to assist in finding better results. Because like I said, user is not equipped or able to do big data analysis on 1 million search results. So there must be some mechanism to guide the user to the concepts or the information that he's really looking for. And these techniques may limit the information that you present, but can be used in a good sense. The bad thing about filter bubbling is when it is influenced by commercial objectives again. And this is actually, of course, the case in the big G environment, where you get all information which is directed by the ones who pay the most for it. And of course, same happens in social media and other platforms where you can find large amounts of information. So you can ask yourself, or you can ask me the question, all nice, Erik, but why is this all important? And why is, you know, these challenges of big data, why should we think about them? Well, answer is pretty simple, but we all need information to make decisions. And to make good decisions, we need good information. As entrepreneur, I need information to run my business. I need to know, you know, what people want, what users want. I need my financial information to make decisions. But if you're down with the flu, you want information about which medication would work best. So you go and search for similar experiences. Students, yeah, you have to graduate. So you make decisions when writing your thesis, and you need good information for that. Yeah. So yes, it is very important that we have accurate and relevant information. Because we make decisions all our lives, all through the day. So the question is more like, how do we find accurate and how do we find relevant information? And for Toweya, we say we need an intelligent approach. Like I said, being presented with a couple of, even 1,000 search results, or in worst cases, millions of search results, you would need tools to go deeper and find better information. And I bet everyone has had that experience with the big search engines, that you still think there must be more out there. And there's a saying, because it's nice contradictory to the actual behavior. And Google, or the big search engines, taught us how to search. And there's a saying now that there's no better place to hide a dead body than on the second page of Google. Because no one ever gets there. And it's kind of true, because we are like maybe focused or fixed on the first page, on the first results, but we keep thinking there must be more out there. So why don't we go to the second page? I know, because after the second result, it looks like garbage. But still there's, yeah, we have 1 million search results fitting your request. So a more intelligent approach would, I think, help us to go deeper and narrower, but it has to be intuitive, it has to be made easy. So I will present you some of the ideas that we are working on for Toweya. Some of them are implemented in the background already, some of them are being worked on. Like I said, we're only 6 months down the road, and we still have a couple of months before the soft launch. But it's interesting, and I hope you can all later join us, or if you want to, in these discussions about these puzzles and how to meet these challenges. So, first of all, like I said, we need to filter out the garbage. Yeah? Anything that is not that is being biased and not good quality information should be left out the scope of results anyway. Because the question is, from these 100 billion pages, how many pages would a good search engine need anyway to find good results? 50%? 70%? Maybe 10%? Yeah, I think if you have 10 million good pages, 10 billion, yeah, and there's an average of 200,000 keywords in a single language, yeah, I think you still have good results. And the funny thing is, we only have 2 million documents in our database right now, but I found some shit that I like even better that I wouldn't have found on the big G. Yeah, and it's about my hobbies as barbecue freak. Find some nice recipes for chipotle hot barbecue sauce. So that's one of the main testing keywords we use right now. One of the first things is that many of the analytics and the methodology for analyzing big data is still based on principles from the 80s and 90s. Anyone familiar with these terms will know the term bag of words. You know, a document being comprised of sentences, being comprised of words, cut up in pieces, and you have this bag of words. And you can do analytics of that. But that was a good concept when we didn't have HTML markup, when we didn't have this variety of formats which have been developed since then. So what we want is to go more to the Internet of Things. And this is not the IoT as being found on of connecting all the devices. No, this is about recognizing concepts, recognizing meaning and things on the internet. Because why can I recognize this is a recipe at once and my computer cannot? Why do I see this house is for sale? If I want to buy and go out, look for a new place to live, relocate, or and I'm searching for a house, you know, why is my search engine not transforming into this database of objects for sale, for real estate? Why do I not see, you know, products as they are being offered, or special offers being presented, and I can click on them right away and buy them? You know, why is my search engine still treating this as just text for searching? And the same with, you know, real products. Why do I see these are shoes, and is the connection with my search engine still based on text? Yeah, if you go to Google Shopping, it's a different game. Google Shopping is actually the same information these merchants provide for text searching, but added in a different way, so Google can analyze it as being products. So if we restructure the data, yeah, or analyze the data and restructure it, we can do a whole lot more with that. And we can actually buy these shoes. And then a search engine could become the biggest shopping mall in the world. Yeah? Right now, I don't know if you have them a lot here in Ukraine, but we have all these different websites for comparing different products, you know, comparing insurances, comparing stuff you can buy. But they are all linked to databases, yeah, from these merchants, yeah, and they're not based on search engines. So these merchants have to maintain double connections. Yeah, first of all, they want to be found in search engines. Second of all, they have to connect to these platforms. And they can only do that by presenting their data in a different way. So I think a search engine needs to be intelligent enough to recognize, yeah, the different concepts and the different meanings. So we go from words to recognizing concepts. Yeah, it's an abstract term, but I hope you get the point. And a lot of that is about object recognition. Some of you may have been, I don't know, working on this already. In video technology, they use it a lot. There are some libraries already out there for pictures that can recognize objects. And the same goes for concepts if you look at web pages. You know, we should do the same thing, the same approach of object recognition in websites, in web pages. The second or the third aspect that would make it much more intelligent and easy to use, and that's where also this filter bubble stuff comes back again, is to take user-related semantics. So, you know, if I'm looking for a certain concept, with the same keywords, you know, as another person may, he may want to find different results. And I want my search engine to be intelligent and to assist me and know what I mean with my lingo, with my words. So yes, I don't mind this search engine following, yeah, and using my history for analysis purposes to refine my searches. This is not filter bubbling. Yeah, this is about semantics. So this engine must know I love horses, you know, and not the small Swarovski ones, but you know, the real live ones. And when I'm talking about a horse, I want a quarter horse and not some old Belgian pulling horse. So this will, if you do that properly, this will reduce search results already by a huge number. If we just know what concept a user means with certain words. And another one is linguistic indexing. So make the search engines smart enough so it knows about stuff like synonyms or polysemy, different relationships between words. Yeah, so that if you're looking for some term, it can automatically say, but remember, we have this synonym and it contains a lot of information that may be of interest to you too. So it can, this index becomes more intelligent if you connect these words in their relationships. And it may also be, yeah, I'm looking for word 1, and I don't mean, you know, the antonym of that. So it's like negation instead of positive search. So I want not sauce, yeah, or I want barbecue sauce, not recipe. Yeah, we can do this with booleans, but then you have to become almost a programmer to look for proper results. And of course, it's has a lot to do with the way you select your results, the accuracy of information that is requested, and the way you present them in ranking. Well, as we saw in the screenshot I took from Toweya, we have a different approach to that. We also have a different approach to selection, which I'm not going to tell you because that's our little secret. No, but it's based on document clustering and about the distance between, you know, concepts, the distance between relationships. You can do a lot of mathematical interesting things with that and use that in the narrowing down the bandwidth of your selection for results. And then ranking is just how, if you have a small number of results, in what order are you going to present them? You know, and like we said, you can use different approaches. Like you showed the latest first. Someone may want the most popular, yeah, and then you can define what is most popular. Right now we use mostly outside information to rank that. So stuff like Alexa ranking. Don't know if you heard about Alexa, but it's like a ranking mechanism internationally of websites based on the traffic they generate. Yeah? We could use Google Analytics, but wouldn't feel good to use information from a competitor. All in all, what it comes down to is that behind all these mechanisms is one approach, and it's called classification. And that's why we organized this workshop. Yeah, but how are you going to classify information? And there are so many ways, so many methods you can use for that. But if you classify it properly, then it will make searching a whole lot easier. And you can classify it to categories, you can classify it to concepts, you can classify it to keywords, you know, you can classify it until forever. But it's basically all classification, and classification is always about probability, and this probability can be used for selection purposes. So that's the basic principle. Yeah, you can say, I want, you know, to narrow down to a certain probability that this document matches a certain concept. That's the basic mechanism we use behind all the different challenges that I presented. But that's classified. So don't tell anyone. So my last topic is coming back to the volume and the velocity, because this was one of the mind breakers we had to face. How do you index 1 trillion URLs? There are two ways. You can wait 1,000 years. Yeah, it's easy to count 1 trillion, let's say 500 days per year, and you do 1 URL per second. If you want to do a big analysis, it'll take some time. You have some delay in retrieving the information, etc., etc. But at a rate of 100,000 per day, you would need about 20,000 years. I don't live that long, unfortunately. So I either needed some magic or come up with another idea. And we did, but we need your help, and of a whole lot of people. So it's called distributed harvesting. We built an application, and Galina will tell you more about it. And it's a small program you can download, and anyone can do, and help us harvesting the information we put in the index. So join the workshop, find out about classification, and please join our Harvester program. Thank you. Yes, questions? Sorry, I'm not used to being a teacher, so, and I'm not...
As internet gets more decentralized, because of intelligent internet searching, because of context advertisement, don't we end up in the bubble of our interests? Well, there is no way to get new information about interesting things that you never know.
So what's the question?
How to get out of the bubble?
Well, the question is it, if the bubble is big enough, would it be bad to be in it? And what would make the bubble bad? Because there will always be a limit, you know, about the information you can handle, you can absorb. Yeah, I think if you find out you have 1 million search results, you can only read about 10 of them. Yeah, maybe more. It will take some time. So the question is, which 10 out of these 1 million search results must be presented to you? Do you want? So the bubble will still be there. But the question is, do you have a choice? Or is this bubble biased by commercial information, by commercial objectives? So as long as I live in a bubble that is not influenced by commercial objectives, yeah, and I'm allowed and able, I have tools to find even, you know, the small jewels within this 1 million search results, I don't mind if you call that a bubble.
Well, but a lot of interesting things that I found,
Yes.
it was not intended. I just Googled something and Google gave me a lot of garbage, but
In the garbage you found the good things. Yes, that's why if I go back to one of the approaches about one of the different approaches we use in Toweya will be to do, for example, select a random selection of. No, it's on my computer. It's somehow. No, I can get back in presentation mode. Don't know why.
Maybe connection.
No. No, but it's so. Yes, we want to present those tools that you don't find these small precious documents by accident, but on purpose. Yeah, we want you to find the things you are looking for, and not by coincidence, but because we know they are out there. That's the difference.
I think most of people just click the first link in Google. Personally, I do most of the time this, and only maybe some intelligent people, only some percent of people really do deep research and find second and third page in Google. What kind of users you aim your search engine? What are groups of people who will use and get something useful from your search engine?
I think the target will be, let me think, to leave those intelligent users with Google and get the rest.
So you didn't
No, it's no. It's I know some people will stick to Google all their life because it's so nice to click on the first result, and even if it's not what I want, yeah, I use that one. That's okay. I think we will be aiming at the more critical user who wants to do deeper search, you know, to do incremental search, because it's like 1 or 2 billion people use Google every day. And we don't need all of them. Would be nice, but I think maybe even if we can get 10% of them, you know, I think we will be successful.
So you don't concentrate, for example, on people from universities or from markets.
No, but
every intelligent people.
I think in the end it will, you know, probably show that more intelligent people will use Toweya.
But at the beginning.
At the beginning, no, you cannot really target at the beginning. It will be this will separate out by just by some will like it, some will not.
Erik, two questions. First of all, maybe I just missed it. What does the word Toweya mean?
Toweya, good question. Toweya is an old Indian Lakota, Native American word for scout, pathfinder. And that's why we say it's about finding your way through this information. Yeah, and let Toweya be your scout.
Okay. The second question, like...
About the owl?
What?
About the owl? No? Okay.
No. Like, you know, in Google, when there are many results, the vowel O gets multiplied, so it gets like Google. So what letter would be multiplied in Toweya in case we got many results?
I think you better talk to my PR lady there for that. It's open for suggestions. It's open for suggestions.
We can go, yeah. Eccentric.
I hope there's no spice for Google. My question is about would you come together with Google or only work alone? And if your answer is the same, don't you share about that Google takes your idea and make in their search system your idea?
Okay.
They have a bigger auditory now than you, and
well, okay. First, it's a good question. It's about the long-term strategy of Toweya company, and we don't have any big investors right now that can influence the strategy of our company. So. That's a good thing for me, and it's a question. Maybe we can open a discussion forum for that itself, because right now, like we see, the internet is exploding. There's so much information, and the question would be: do people have a right to an independent object index? Because there is no index. It's like walking into the biggest library in the world, and you probably have big libraries here in university, but this one is like a zillion times bigger, and having no one to tell you where to find the right books. Yeah. So I know there is a demand for an independent, objective search engine, not biased by the big numbers in commerce. On the other side, it will cost money to maintain the infrastructure, to keep up development, and it's not all charity. That's not possible. So there's still debate on what business model we will put underneath. Right now, my intention is to keep it independent as long as I can. Maybe ask for, like Wikipedia model, have people donate or support us financially in order to be able to do that. Will Google take our ideas? We're working on having these ideas in detail registered for patents. So the only thing that, and I'm not scared, the only thing that would be nasty is this huge department of lawyers with Google. That would go a long way, to hurt a small company. But if they would do that, it would mean for us a lot of publicity and like Goliath and David, and we'll see what happens.
okay, thank you. I would like to
Thank you. So, thank you.